The Brad rules.
So, just in time for Halloween, I wanted to talk about Pokemon's creepiest episodes. These are a collection of episodes. It's a three-parter. It has to do with Ash versus Sabrina, the gym leader in Saffron City. These episodes, to me, as a kid, were insane. They went a little bit further than really what you expect out of creepiness in a kid's show, in a kid's anime. So there's 3 episodes altogether: Abra and the Psychic Showdown, the Tower of Terror, which is part 2, and the finale, Haunter versus Kadabra. So this all starts off in the first episode with Ash, Misty, and Brock wandering the forest outside of Saffron City. They lost their way when suddenly a little girl appears before them and leads them towards the city. She's trying to lure them in, and this is pretty creepy. It's just this little girl, and this little girl voice, of course, and just giggling and laughing. It's quite unsettling, and it's pitch dark. It's at night, and you're wandering around the forest. Pretty creepy as it is. So they find their way to Saffron City. Ash gets to the gym, and he sees that the little girl is actually with Sabrina. And he thinks that the little girl is the gym leader, but no, it's actually Sabrina. So a deal is struck that if she accepts the challenge, that if Ash loses, then the 3 of them, Ash, Misty, and Brock, will have to play with the little girl. And so Ash sends out Pikachu, and Sabrina sends out Abra, and Abra, in the midst of the battle, evolves into Kadabra. And Kadabra proceeds to give Pikachu a red-ass beatdown. So Ash loses, and now he has to play with the little girl. And the little girl transports Ash, Misty, and Brock into her dollhouse. And they see there's dolls inside. It's pretty fucking creepy, to say the least. And almost kills them when she rolls a ball into the dollhouse, and it's like a giant boulder. But luckily, a man, who we later find out is actually Sabrina's father, uses his psychic powers to transport them out of the dollhouse, and now they're back to full size. A pretty unsettling, weird as hell moment that is quite unexpected. And it also doesn't help that Sabrina has this dead ass stare, and this girl is not laughing. She means business. And you can tell that she does not care about the fate of Ash, Misty, or Brock here. It's like, if they got mowed down by that big bull, then so be it. So I guess she's okay with murder. So, that's happening in this kid's anime. So Sabrina's father ends up informing Ash that if he wants to have any hope of beating Sabrina, he needs to catch a ghost Pokemon. So Ash sets off with Misty and Brock to Lavender Town, and they come upon the Pokemon Tower that houses Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. And, they're not really too creepy because they just want to have fun. They're just a bunch of lonely ghost Pokemon, and, they're just looking for a good time. But in the midst of the good time, a chandelier falls on top of Ash and Pikachu, and they're not moving. So Haunter pulls their spirits right out of their bodies, and they're having an out-of-body experience. We're seeing some astral projection, something that's just crazy to me. I mean, there's weird stuff in the Pokemon games, without a doubt, but not quite on this level. I mean, it's pretty much implied here that Ash and Pikachu are fucking dead. They're dead as a doornail. They're lying there motionless. Misty and Brock are calling out to them, so they decide to go back into their bodies, and they're awake again. This is also a beautiful scene as well, as they're like soaring through the air with Haunter, Ghastly, and Gengar. I really like this. It's just like an otherworldly experience. It's It's a weird, creepy, unsettling, but also sort of a oddly beautiful moment at the same time. It struck a real nice trifecta there. So Haunter agrees to go with Ash back to Saffron City, and he will battle alongside of him against Sabrina. This is kind of odd because, like, Ash does not actually catch Haunter. Haunter kind of just goes into an agreement with Ash and decides that he will fight on his side. And this leads us into part 3, where this is probably the creepiest episode of them all. So Ash goes back to the gym. He's got Haunter. He's feeling good. He's got the type advantage. He's going to take it to Sabrina and her Kadabra. But Haunter is nowhere to be found. He's fled. He's off on his own. And right there, it's like, watching this episode, even your heart drops along with Ash, because you're like, oh shit. It's already kind of been established here that Pikachu doesn't have a chance, and that this is just not going to go well. So Ash decides to take flight. He runs out of the gym, and he manages to make it out because of Sabrina's father once again. But Misty and Brock are not so lucky, and they end up getting turned into dolls. Yes, that's right. They get turned into dolls, folks, and they get transported into the dollhouse. And they're there with Sabrina's mother. Yes, Sabrina has actually been keeping her mother captive as a doll inside her dollhouse. And this is pretty fucked up, to say the very least. This thing about Sabrina's mother, though, she's probably one of the most forgiving mothers, because as they're sitting in the dollhouse, Sabrina's mother tells Misty and Brock to not be angry with Sabrina because she's well-meaning. She turns you into a fucking doll. And they no doubt got the idea from this from Daltaki from Dragon Ball GT, where he transforms his victims into dolls. And this also happens to Pan in the show. So, no doubt some inspiration there, I would think. Obviously very creepy, and it's very similar. Like, they end up looking the same way that Pan did. So they're there. Now it's basically up to Ash to save them. And so Ash finally learns that this man, the guy tries to tell Ash at least that he's the father, but he's not quite getting it. And so we get some backstory on Sabrina. And Sabrina was obsessed with honing her psychic powers. That's all she cared about. And she turned reckless and very aggressive. And she ends up hating her parents. And all this hatred ends up splitting Sabrina into two halves. And that little girl that you see, that's actually Sabrina's childishness. And because she's basically robbed of her childhood because she's obsessed with her psychic powers, she never gets to have a normal childhood. So that's what you're seeing. It's basically just a projection of sorts of herself. But it is like a physical being, but it's kind of just like that is her childhood right there personified. So Ash manages to finally find Haunter again and brings him back to the gym. And he abandons Ash once again, or so he thinks. So Pikachu goes toe-to-toe again with Kadabra, but this time they're actually interrupted because Haunter is making funny faces to Sabrina, which actually makes her laugh, and in turn makes Kadabra laugh, and he can no longer continue battling. And Ash is deemed the winner because Kadabra can no longer battle, and that's basically it. The little girl fades away, and Sabrina, the father, and the mother are together again, and basically all is forgotten. It's just kind of crazy that after all this shit, it's just one big happy family. But meanwhile, she kept her mom as a doll for God knows how long in that dollhouse, and now it's just gonna be all hugs and kisses, and we're just gonna ride off into the sunset. Yeah, this is probably one of the most unsettling collection of episodes I've ever seen. And, you know, you've got to watch them if you haven't seen them. It's also crazy that this is in the first season of Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, you know, they didn't even like wait to get out of the gate so much with this show. It's like they just poured on some creepiness right from the beginning. I mean, they did not want to wait to creep you out. So, you know, they never did a full-fledged Lavender Town episode with Mr. Fuji and, you know, the Pokemon Tower and Team Rocket taking over and the whole, you know, Marowak saga. That never happened. So, you know, we never got to see that in anime form, which is a shame. So, you know, except for when they came out with Pokemon Origins. So, you know, but they never did it in the main anime here with Ash. So that's a real shame, but we did still get some creepy stuff. So guys, I definitely recommend you see these 3 episodes. Check this little arc out if you haven't. And if you have watched it, let me know in the comments down below. How did these collection of episodes affect you when you saw them as a kid? Did they alarm you? Did you find them to be unsettling? Or did you not really find them to be that creepy at all? I'd love to know, so let's discuss it down below. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all the notifications when I post on my new videos. I want to thank all my subscribers for your continued support. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.